So it's connecting to recording now. Great. So we got market stats, and then we're going to go into project statistics, and then general news, and then upcoming events, and then I'll take any questions. My goal is to keep this short. It's like the viewing time is around 17 minutes for each of the webinars. So let's see what we can get through in 17 minutes. Total cryptocurrencies, we have 2003 total cryptocurrencies, total markets, 216 billion. It's the case. Bitcoin is up. Everything is up today, except for looking at Tether. Obviously, well, it's moving down a little 1%, but for the most part, everything else is green. The events that are happening today, when you look at the overall market, we're still in the bear market, guys. So the price that we've had, they have been absolutely devastating for the altcoins. But we'll look at the global charts for what's happening in the market in general. So I'll push to the past 3 months because I think that makes a little bit more sense. Looking, there's been a pickup in volume slightly. At the same time, we've had some pullbacks, and then we had some and then pullbacks again. We had a run and we had a pullback. The thing that was interesting about the most recent pullback, it did not pull back as far. So we were down here, then up, and then we went downtrend, and then up, and then down, and up here, and then went down. I think the thing to notice, there are dial-in numbers here too. Looks like I was unable to dial in though. Just a heads up. Okay, cool. So what we see here is that there was a run up, but then there was also a pull. That pullback, if you notice, was not as low or was not as severe as previous pullbacks. Not to say that that's evidence to suggest that we are getting ready to enter into a bull phase, but it's at the point where it looks like some type of flattening and the bottom has been reached. So what I'm doing now, if you give me a second here. Now is just look at for both coins, it's the total market cap, Bitcoin and all altcoins. So it looks like the pullback was not as far. So I think if we do have a run up that exceeds higher high, that may be some evidence to suggest that we're getting ready to enter into a bull market. But right now, this pullback, and then it's looking as if it's getting ready to run up. If it runs up past this previous high, then we're going to have higher highs. And now this is one high low, considering what we've had in the past with the lower lows each time. One low, two low, three lows, and now it's high. See that? One high. And then now this is a higher high, and then it's a higher low. So that's just some evidence to suggest that this market may be turning around and we might be entering into a general bull run, but right now we only have a few data points to suggest that. So to the Metanote market itself, I'm looking at the Metanote market total 2.9 billion, dominant 67% for Dash. It's the case Lotus coin. When we look at it, down 24%, 226 matches. Let's do a quick dive into that. 128 LGS, roughly 20 LGS on a daily payout. The price now is the nominal price is 614, down 17.92%. 126 Maxinos, there's been something in the market. We see here that there was a massive jump, and this coincides because a few years back there was the decision by the SEC to postpone, but not to say that's totally caused everything in the LGS market to jump, but yet it's the case. It was a downward trend. I know there was something that was posted in Perlock and rearranging some wallets, and folks thought it was a massive sell-off, but no, it was not a massive sell-off. At the same time, we see something did happen that was somewhat disturbing when you look at the number of master nodes. We had a positive trend in terms of the number of increases in master nodes, and we have max of 234, now down to 222. So we lost about 10 master nodes in LGS as the price began to decrease, but now we're at 226. We're slowly recovering back from that all-time high in terms of number of master nodes, $6,148 per master node. Now let's look at what happened in the market as well in terms of LPC. So I did notice we now see something that had taken place. I've been watching for a while, and you can do it too, looking at coin market cap. And I'll a little later after we go over these statistics. Nominal price of around 93 cents, up 12%. Now is beginning to pick up for some odd reason or another. It's beginning to pick up at 2.6 million in cap, 80 days for ROI, 1,849 master nodes. I think that's great that we're having more and more master nodes enter into the network. We did have a major pullback. Let me get through this first before I go into the charts. We have 66% of the coin locked up, 935 per master node. Looking at overall price action here, it's not anywhere close to, well, it is close to our all-time low. Our all-time low was 67 cents for each LPC coin. Now it's the case, it looks as if we've bottomed out in terms of that where there was a sell-off that occurred. I think something that was interesting when you begin to look at the number of master nodes, we had a consistent rise, and around that on the 21st to 22nd, there was a decrease in almost 90 or almost 100 master nodes, 1797 to 1708. So almost 90 master nodes liquidated all in one day. I don't know what caused that. Perhaps it was someone that was exiting a position around $1. That was their stop loss, and maybe had 100 master nodes. Or once people were selling, there was a frenzy. But yet, that was the biggest loss that we've ever had in all of our existence since Genesis. But it's the case, knowing how resilient this project is and how the coin is and value-based project, it quickly recovered. All time was 1797, but now this is the case. We're well over 1800, 1834, and we're at 1809. So it's the case that we're back on that trend, and I think we're going to go higher as we progress. But for the most part, looking at the price action, guys, I do think that we've hit the bottom in terms of the price relative to USD and price relative to BTC as well. So that it's pretty bottom down. So with that said, some of the things that contribute to that, now that we've talked about the general market statistics, it looks as if the old market is beginning to flatten out, and there's some evidence to suggest that the lows when pullbacks are getting higher, and the highs when they are run up, they're beginning to get higher. There were just two instances of that. Not to say that it's a trend, but it's moving in a direction. So there's some evidence to suggest that it may be getting ready to move to a bull market. So just some evidence just based on the technicals and looking at some of the price action. One of the things that I noticed when you look at LPC and LGS, when we look at each one, LPC and the on coin market cap, some of the things that worried me as I began to look at the price action and the volume that we had tremendous amounts of volume taking place in the project, as we were number one, number two on a variety of different exchanges. And the amount of volume began to decrease a lot, and as well the price began to decrease. As I mentioned earlier, this is somewhat consistent with what I was mentioning earlier about how we had oversupply into the market, where the number of coins that were being paid to the master nodes, they were being pushed into the market, and as a result, holders and stakers were selling their coins. It's as if the evidence that all of the coins have been pushed out. There's been a sale of almost 100 master nodes out into the market. Now we had more buyers, approximately 100, come in within a day or two to reestablish the number of master nodes that we have, well over 1,800 now, and the price is flattening out. This suggests to me the current payout, and I think it's 15.5 LPC per master node and approximately 6 change for the 6 LPC for the stakers. We've reached the bottom. Now I do believe that we're going to see a trend as a result of, one, the oversupply that we're having at a microeconomic level, beginning to reach a point where we could sustain where we are in the current price action. At the same time, I do believe, as well as the rewards begin to decrease, we have that perception of scarcity entering into the market. So with that, I'm going to take a quick pause on the and to see if there's anything that's happening in the chat. Are there any questions on just general market statistics and the price statistics? You can indicate that in the chat if you do have any questions. I'm through and don't see any now. So what I'll do, because you don't have any questions, I'll move on to the general news. I mentioned earlier, there were some things that happened over the past couple of weeks that I think are of importance to us in the general market. Looking at the by the SEC to delay the ETF decision, but SEC this time postponed the decision to the end of December. One of their main concerns, they're asking for comments around how Bitcoin can be manipulated. So that was one of the main concerns. Even though they opened it up for comments for individuals to provide their suggestions on and comments around how can they prevent Bitcoin from being manipulated by large investors. There's evidence to suggest there is some manipulation going on in terms of the volume taking place. But there's a 2-month extension to get more feedback. So the SEC is seeking views on manipulation, including whether Bitcoin is less susceptible to manipulation than other commodities that back exchange traded products, as well as how can you begin to monitor this. This is quite important when you begin to look at some of the manipulation in the prices of commodities. When you think about gold and when you think about silver, there's evidence to suggest that the price is being manipulated of those commodities. And the thing can be viewed from the sense of this digital commodity considered by the CFTC. They just consider Bitcoin as a commodity, but I just call it in general a digital commodity, and cryptocurrencies in general as digital commodities. So seeking views before they make that decision. So I think that's one thing that really is pushing the market into having a more positive sentiment, because they easily could have rejected the ETF, but yet they postponed it because they want to know more information around manipulation. So this week, and as we speak, the Federal Reserve, they're having their quarterly meeting, and it's expected. There's a 90% chance, based upon like some of the that they're going to raise interest rates. There's no reason. The economy is doing well. The dollar is relatively strong. Employment is picking up. Wages are increasing a tad bit. So you have a concern around inflation. So as a result, the Federal Reserve, they're meeting for 2 days, and they're going to come out that the interest rates are going to increase by, I think, 25 basis points. So 0.25% is going to be an increase. They're also considering the increase in interest rates in December as well, but considering the trade war that's happening it's the case that they're beginning to take that into consideration. What impact will the trade war cause in terms of the economic perspective of the United States? How will it impact supply chains? What regulations they need to put in place for banks as well? This is also something that was in the last minutes of the Federal Reserve meeting. From what I understand, the Fed, they're considering tightening up some or putting in more provisions in place or executing some provisions for banks and having them to have more liquidity, cash available just in case anything was to happen as a consequence of just the trade war and the increase in the interest rates. So that's why you saw the indexes for banks in these past few days, because it's the case they enact some of those provisions that will require the banks to keep more capital as we're entering into this questionable phase where instead of quantitative easing, where you were pushing out all of these funds into the market trying to get liquidity to get the jumpstart economies across the world, you had 0% interest rates, and they're trying to get back to regular interest rates. At the same time, instead of quantitative easing, now they're trying to do quantitative tightening, and it caused some recessions around the world as interest rates they're being inched up by different economies worldwide. Is in that position as well. So what we have in terms of the general news, the SEC postponed the decision. The Fed rate they're increasing the rates this week. At the same time, the aspects around the trade wars is still taking place. Now we're moving into upcoming events. Some of the events that we have taking place here. To the Future Blockchain Conference is going to be on October the 12th and the 13th, and we're also sponsoring the esports tournament. I think it's great that we're actually engaging in a conference where there are corporate entities, traditional tech companies, non-tech companies, in addition to crypto companies, and at the same time there's an esports tournament, and we've decided to sponsor that esports tournament. As you can see here, a variety of different speakers. The blockchain at Thomson Reuters. At the same time, you have myself, you have Microsoft, you have IBM. A lot of the speakers, IO, the president of IO. At the time, SEC, the cyber liaison, David Hirsch at the SEC, he's going to be there as well, in addition to a lot of other speakers and trainers. Trainers will be given a variety of different trainers on Hyperledger, on BlockCert, which we're integrating into our wallets for any certifications or any digital credentials that you'd like to be able to keep. At the same time, I know in MD99, you mentioned that you could not hear me. There's a number that you can call that's in the chat to get audio, or you can wait until the meeting is finished. And when the meeting is finished and this recording is done, I'll post it to the LPC Americas page, and I do apologize for that. Trainers who are giving a wide variety of training on blockchain-based applications into the esports tournament. And as you can see, we have Thomson Reuters as diamond sponsor, Microsoft, and as a tournament sponsor, both LPC and LGS. We're looking to sign up every single esports athlete there and give them a wallet. Any other individuals that are there, corporate entities as well. So the goal for me is if we can have anywhere from between 100 to 500 signups, I think that is a success. So I see that as a success for us. At the same time, LPC and LGS will be signing up used for wallets, mobile wallets, and desk wallets. They have those desktops or mobile devices available. At the same time, in addition to LPC and LGS, Dash will also be there as well, just signing up. So they're going to be at the conference just signing up. One of the ambassadors is going to be signing up individuals. But in the case, we want to compete. We want to have a large number of wallet downloads, large number of wallet signups, because that's the way that we're going to introduce ourselves to the masses. We go to different events and conferences where they're both traditional tech companies, non-tech companies and crypto organizations. That's where the synergies will begin to happen. There's another conference that we're looking to attend in Colorado, where it's the same, it's a similar setup. They have a similar orientation where they want to bring in traditional tech companies, crypto companies, and retail individual or retail investors as well into the space. But there needs to be a lot of training. There needs to be a lot of education. I think this conference is one of the best conferences that I've seen in integrating both training and that esports as well. And what's great about this particular tournament is the sense that the results will be placed on blockchain. So you'll see the statistics from the Dota 2 tournament on blockchain using block search. So it's the case. Block search is an open source application, which we will embed into our devices, embed into our applications as well, so that when we certify different point-of-sale users or the people who are trained in a point-of-sale device, we will issue those certifications on search. I think that's one of the main events that's upcoming. At the same time, on the 5th, I will be going to the University of Central Florida to have the launch with the industrial and organizational psychology and the business students as well. Meet them, and it's the case. The individuals participating within the human performance group, they're bringing in the engineers, they're bringing in software developers, they're bringing in front end and back end folks from the human factors. So human factors group that we've already interacted with to do work within the Performance Solutions Lab. So I'll just give you guys a little insight in terms of what these students will be working with in the project. So right now we've already launched the repositories for the application. This is the application that the students will be using in order to build out the point of sale devices here. As you can see, there's a field for databases or for anything with databases, and in this case, anything with blockchains through API. Here's the repository as it comes from GitHub and the external libraries, and this is where they'll be able to program their applications. And right now, this is like a class model, for instance. Right now, the languages that we're starting out for building an application is Python. If some of you aren't familiar with that programming language, it's the same programming language that's used to build Coinbase. It's very fast. It's very easy to learn. In a web-based environment, it's scalable with those APIs, very fast. So it's the case. It's the most efficient programming language. When Google was first built, it was all Python. When YouTube was first built, it was all Python. NASA uses Python for a wide variety of both space applications and number crunching. It has some very nice modules that are actually in place. So they'll have requirements, and the application Python is the middleware that's used within, say, the Coinbase. When you log on to Coinbase and you see your wallets, is the case. Python is the middle that's used for the most part for interacting with the different applications. Django is the web-based application that's built in Python. So you see the Django app. So it's the case the students, even though this is a different project. Let me see. We'll go to recent and we'll go to LightPay and open this in a new window. So all of the students who will be working with us will have access to this web development or this environment. This development environment is by JetBrains. So in case that the LPC point of sale wallet, it will serve as both the point of sale device and the wallet for the point of sale device for taking those transactions, and it will be backed by the nodes. So it's the case of building out the web-based application. This is the repository. Things haven't added because we're still building out the team, but production, the object-oriented analysis part has started. So the private repository, so that's why I'm not necessarily showing you anything here, but it's the case that as the software is being loaded from the student, it will be put in this repository that students will have access through on their desktop, and they will be able to test in their own particular environment. So this is, once again, Python that's developed by JetBrains. And once again, Python is the programming language, Django is the web-based application, and Kivy will be what will we use for the desktop interfaces if the web-based device or organizations choose not to use the web-based application. So we're beginning to move into the phase where building it was great, launching the blockchain was great, getting on exchanges was great, building liquidity is fine. Now we have to go to work. So that's guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick pause as we move to some questions here about either what we've talked about, the market stats, project stats, general news, upcoming events, and questions that you might have. So I'm going to click chat here, see if there are questions. And it may be that I'm the only one here. Oh no, there are a few people here. Let me know if you have questions. So for the people who do have audio and you raised your hand, then it's okay. Just put it in the chat, and then we can go from there. Okay, it seems like we don't have any questions. So what I will do is I do apologize once again. The stream, someone told me it was working as we were getting ready to log off. And it was unfortunate that I didn't really pick that up. But I did all the testing that I could, and it was working when I did the pilot test. But obviously on launch, it wasn't functioning as I thought it should work. And I did a switch to WebEx, and I do apologize. And for those who came on and actually were able to adjust and log on, I think it's great. Some logged on, some logged off after logging on and not being able to get to the audio. But this was a quick on-the-fly adjustment since we were able to use Zoom and Patrick was not able to be here today. But I do apologize for those who were able to log on. Everyone will have access to the audio and video once we finish this up. And let me see, I'm going to stop this recording. And that's it. If I don't have any more questions, okay, the call and option. Okay, so we don't have any questions. All right, guys, definitely thank you for your time. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll post this up, and then we go from there. Thanks. Oh, more announcement. I forgot. Yeah, there was an announcement by Joseph at Eurex.io. If anyone signs up, I do apologize. Yeah, if anyone signs up for your and the deposits, E5 LGS or 5 LPC, then you're entered into a drawing to receive 5 times the LGS, 5 times the LPC. So I think it's a 5 for 5 competition just for signing up on Eurex.io. So I'll post it in the announcements as well. But if you have questions, just hit me up in the Discord, and then we'll go from there. But thanks for accommodating me today. Bye, guys.